The last 24 hours has been a very crazy day for the community as a whole, but I've noticed that recently we've been seeing some crazy progress on top 1 levels, and also just some crazy achievements in of themselves. And so I want to cover all of those in this video, starting off with Levi. Now, Levi isn't going to be talked about here because of one achievement specifically, like all the other things, but this is more just because a accumulation of achievements that Levi has been doing. Now, Levi is known for just beating a bunch of stuff. He still does the hardest of the hard stuff, but unlike other people, he does focus on lower parts of the demon list as well. But recently, I would say in the past couple weeks, he's been absolutely going crazy, and even sneaking in a very hard level in the form of Kill Stealer 10 days ago, becoming the first victor. I don't even know if I covered him in a video. I think I might have missed this achievement. But the reason we're talking about him specifically in this video is because of the last 2 days as I'm recording. Because in that time, he has beaten Sub-Terminal Point, Snowbound, Between Duality, Trickshot, and Being Home. And keep in mind, 3 of these levels are main list. Actually, I don't know Trickshot's placement, but I'm pretty sure it's extended. But these are some crazy achievements. With barely any attempts, like Snowbound, 44 on the list when he beat it, attempts 3,000. Being Home, a level he considers 34 on the list, took him under 10k. And because he fluked Trickshot, he took 1,300 attempts on the level. These are absolutely diabolical numbers that have paid off, because Levi is now officially the 3rd best player on the Point of Crate stats viewer. He is now above the likes of Nethermind and Trick, which is so crazy to see. This came out of nowhere, or at least for me it came out of nowhere. But it makes sense, he's been grinding so many levels, and if he keeps up at this pace, he could honestly start pressuring Popoff. That doesn't mean he's as good as Popoff, obviously Popoff is a lot better, but the fact that you're able to pressure the number 2 ranked player is very crazy. This also puts Levi above 4,000 points, which Trick is currently under, which is another impressive achievement. And also, I don't remember, but when was the last time that we had someone who wasn't an American in the top 3? Because currently, Levi is the only non-American in the top 5, and is one of the few non-Americans in the top 10. And it feels like the current top 4 has stayed relatively the same. The kind of top 5 to 10 has changed around a bit, but I feel like the top 3 has been Zoink, Popoff, and Trick, with Nethermind being 3rd for a decent portion for quite a while. I don't really keep up with the stats viewer, so maybe I'm speaking absolute baboon here, but yeah, this is just a really crazy achievement nonetheless. But let's talk about the top 1 news that we have. First off, we're going to talk about Hover. 13 days ago, he was able to get 24 to 100 on Silent Acropolis, and recently he finally got a new best of 85% 4 hours ago as I'm recording, being a death to the last wave, and comparatively to the rest of the level, not a particularly fun death. This was a relatively easy part, or more easy click in comparison to every other part in this level. Silent Acropolis is obviously a decorated version of the original Silent Acropolis by the Purgatory team, which is being verified by Hover. And honestly, I was expecting Hover to get a new best at some point, because he's been demolishing this level. He's practically getting to the slow part before the wave in nearly every session now. It seems like he's always updating us on a really crazy progression. And this level is crazy. There's so many 240s in this level, specifically in that part that he just passed on screen. And then there's this wave part, which comparatively isn't that bad, and sadly he just died here, and there wasn't really much after this. Obviously I'm on the 24 to 100 run here, so he didn't die in this clip, but yeah, that 85, sad death. Now, the difficulty of this level is confusing, right? Because in this video, it's titled as a top 1 to 3, but if you go on to the short he recently made about getting this run, he listed it as a top 5, and I feel like that's confusing a bunch of people. So to set it straight, currently, Hover does think it's around top 5, around tidal wave difficulty, right? Could be above, could be below, could be tidal wave, exactly around that. However, a lot of pro players and people who analyze hard levels for their difficulty have stated that he is a bit crazy for thinking that this level should be way harder than he's perceiving it, and hence the top 1 to 3 status. Now, a lot of people have said it's probably around Amethyst difficulty, from what I've heard, which obviously wouldn't make it top 1, but with how mysterious the difficulty of this level is, if we combine Hover's opinion with the general opinion, this very much could be top 1. I have heard takes that this is harder than Flame Wall, harder than Amethyst, harder than Thinking Space 2, right? So it's not out of the question that's harder than Society, but probably it isn't. I'm going to guess that it probably will place above or below Amethyst. That's just my guess. But just looking at the frame windows alone, it looks like an incredibly hard level, and I'm sure Hover can beat it any day now because he's super consistent with it. We can also talk about Vision, who we covered recently for getting 23 to 100 on unnerfed Silent Clubstep / Eternal Silence, which again is another level that could be top 1. I would say this is probably one of the most least likely levels to get top 1, but there is still a chance that this is harder than Society. Some people have said that. And he was able to get 20% on the level, and he is getting very consistent runs from 0. He's probably going to beat this new best quite soon. You can see here he also has 19 times free, so he is just waiting to get that drop attempt, and this was, right on the edge. This is some crazy progress. Currently, he is lagging behind a bit when it comes to the people who are currently actively playing the level. Obviously, CC was 65%, Chikawa 55 times 2, so the 20% run doesn't look too incredible, but if you're looking at the rate that Vision's progressing, he could definitely get pretty far, right? If this is from what I remember, it's still similar to how the difficulty works in Silent Clubstep. Obviously, it's a lot harder in the unnerfed version, but the general parts that are the most difficult parts compared to the most easiest parts are the same. So Vision could very much, just with a couple of drop attempts, get very far and match Chico and Cece. And honestly, he's the most deserving to do this because, look, he has 1,000,000 attempts at the level. 1,000,000 attempts, pure dedication. He's been at this for years, ever since he beat Silent Clubstep. He kind of just stuck with this level, so hence he's trying to beat the unnerfed version now. We also saw Taigo, another top player, get 34 to 100 on Sweeping Demon 2, which he says is like 85% the difficulty, and unlike the last two things we covered, this one is 100% top 1. Most people have said, yeah, there is no way that this is easier than Society. Some people have argued it's harder than Grief. A lot of people say it's harder than Heliopolis. There's just a lot of people saying that this level is crazy difficult. And I don't blame them when you look at the wave part. I mean, that was just crazy. At the very end of the level, you have to do this, which is... like, how can you stay cool at 85% and do that? That is diabolical. I do hope he can pull through with this level soon. Taigo is very consistent in runs. We're just kind of waiting to see if he can replicate this from 0. I'm sure that he can do it in the near future. Don't think this is as soon as Eternal Silence or Silent Acropolis, but I can definitely see this getting verified. Taigo, it will definitely do it. And finally, Brian Cheese verified Forest of Spikes. With a name like Forest of Spikes, I bet you cannot guess what the gimmick of this level is. Yeah, it's a bunch of spikes. I don't think it's spike only. Obviously, there's some clicks here that aren't spikes, but the majority of this level is themed around spikes in the forest. Who could have guessed? And yeah, this is a very, very difficult level. It's estimated to be top 25. The only real difficulty estimates I can find is from Brian Cheese himself, who said that this level is at least significantly harder than Slaughterhouse. I feel like from that statement, I would guess it's below Abyss of Darkness, above Slaughterhouse. That's what I could guess. Obviously, I haven't played the level, haven't seen any other takes, so I don't know, but that is probably the estimate that we're looking at here. A very difficult level, and honestly, a very fun-looking one. But that's all I have to talk about today. Hope you learned something new. This is a very crazy day for the community. There was also the curse drama that happened, but honestly, I'm not gonna cover that because I feel like I don't need to. That honestly just looks like a big nothing burger and pointless drama. I don't really like to say the term Twitter drama because a lot of people kind of boil down actual meaningful stuff that's happening in the community to just, oh, it's always Twitter, right? But this one, I genuinely think it's an only Twitter thing. He even did a very honest apology, so it should all be cleared up now if you do take offense to stuff he said, and you do think it's that serious. But either way, I don't really want to cover it. I don't see the need to. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and peace.